Hey, what's up guys? It's Frankie Finn. For those of you guys who don't know me, I'm the author of the book Beyond the Agency Box. I've also since 2007 built up 3 different agencies to 100 plus simultaneous clients, and I've helped hundreds of people all over the world to live the whole laptop agency beach lifestyle. Those are my peeps, by the way, all hanging out. I want to talk to you something about that's inspired by one of our mastermind members. Just had his first 100K month and scaling to 100K month. For those of you guys who are in the 10-20K range, or somewhere in that kind of vicinity and want to take it all the way to 100 grand, what it's going to take to actually do that. So let's get into it. All right, by the way, there is a book that is probably worth reading called The Theory of Constraints by Eli Goldratt, and it says a system will never go as fast as or faster than whatever the limiting factor is in the machine, whatever the weakest link is. And he gives a real life example of, there's a couple of kids, he's a Boy Scout leader and he's going for a walk, and one of the kids is in the front of the line, is the fastest kid, and then the second fastest kid is a little bit behind him, and the third fastest kid. And he constantly has to stop the thing because he's responsible for these kids, he's got to watch over them. So he keeps saying, like, to the kid at the front, like, slow the fuck down, wait up. And he realizes there's a bigger kid, a fat kid for lack of a better term, named Herbie, and everything is only going to go as fast as Herbie. So he decides to restructure the machine and put Herbie in front, and nobody's allowed to pass Herbie. And surprisingly, to his shock and awe, they actually make like double time with Herbie in front, with actually like optimizing for the constraint instead of optimizing for whatever the fastest thing is. And this will happen in your agency, by the way. When you go to scaling, your first constraint, sales. Like, if you don't have any sales, there's not a whole lot to optimize. Then what you will find is that your second constraint will probably sooner or later evolve to retention, and then it'll third evolve to delivery, meaning you gotta be able to do what you do at scale, and then fourth it'll evolve to hiring. And if you can handle those 4 constraints, they don't always necessarily present themselves in that order, but if you can figure out your sales, if you can figure out how to do what you do, deliver it, if you can figure out how to bring on people to help you, and all of that kind of stuff, then there's no limit to how big you can actually build an agency. So I'll tell you, when most people come to me, and by the way, they're in the 10-20 grand a month range and they want to bring it to 100,000, the biggest thing that's actually constraining the system is the sheer amount of delivery time. And what you want to do, by the way, in order to like make your delivery time get organized, is just to look at, what is my Herbie? What's taking me all the fucking time? Like, what am I spending? So I'll give you a real life example. We found we were spending all our time with just getting accounts set up. So we're doing this new program we're trying out, where it's just like a huge amount of retargeting for our lawyers across multiple platforms. But in order to do that, we got to get set up on a bunch of sites and tracking code. And I realized there was this software called Leadsy. I checked it out. Seemed a little expensive for what it does, but then I added up the time and the Herbies and the constraints, and I was like, you know what? Who cares? Let's just get it. I think it's like for like 3 people, it's $100 or something like that. But I'm like, man, just the amount of time and energy we'll save. So this is a hidden secret, by the way, is most people are optimizing everything in their agency for money. And it's actually the worst thing to optimize for. You want to optimize for energy and time, right? If you want to build a machine that flows, well, you need to organize it in such a way that it'll scale with relative ease. And so what will happen as you do that, whenever you creatively move one of your constraints, what you'll find is that your agency can suddenly like double or triple without added issues. So I'll give you a real life example just so you can wrap your head around this. When you get to, like, at least for me, like, when I got to like 10 or 20 grand a month in my SEO agency, it was like my constraint became I was working 80 hours a week, right? And like, there's no magic way for me to get more hours in a day. But what I found is, when I figured out how to hire people, and when I figured out how to create systems so that other people could execute on the things I was doing, I actually doubled my client load and barely worked at all, right? There was a little while before a new constraint emerged and we grew, where I actually had an agency that, like, for the most part was like not me being in the trenches at all. So this is the thing about it, is if you want to scale to 100,000 a month, and especially what will happen is your delivery and your hiring will usually become your two biggest constraints. Like, to go from 50 to 100,000 a month is not actually a sales issue, because obviously you're making sales. That's how you got to 50 grand, but you'll spend so much time in the trenches delivering what you do. So you got to really, really identify what's my Herbie and then work at it ruthlessly. And what you'll find is those are where the really big breakthroughs come. I know everybody thinks it's just about more and more sales, but it's actually more about optimizing constraints. You do that, agencies just grow. So it's a little bit of a rant inspired by a book I've been reading, part 2, the Goal by Eli Goldratt, also the same author from The Theory of Constraints. So I hope that's helpful to you guys. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe, and may the force be with you.